Another topic that I think is very important within the MGTOW philosophy is also men going your own way when it comes to social restraints. Um, yes, there's the traumas of dealing with women. Maybe you came out of a bad situation, or you're aware you're starting to see like the double standards of relationships. But a lot of that stems from social norms or community norms of a certain group of people, either social class or whatever, subcultures. A lot of these things um, come from that, and you got to look at, especially as a young man, guys my age made a ton of mistakes trying to conform to the social norms of the the various subcultures we were in, and hopefully my mistakes passing it on to you guys to learn from it. Because I coach, from coaching boxing, I notice a lot of young people are not really educated or given a different perspective that they could use and either choose to adopt it or take bits and pieces from it and incorporate it into their lives where it works, and get rid of the areas where it doesn't. Because not every aspect of MGTOW is gonna be practical or suitable for everybody. Um, so when you're looking at this video, my videos, only take what you can use. Some of the things that I may talk about may not be applicable to you, and therefore you shouldn't accept everything I say as religion. You got to think for yourself. In a lot of cases, just use the information that I present to just to get a different viewpoint. Say, well, maybe I can use that. Maybe that's not for me. I'll use something else. Um, I, and that's the MGTOW way, is men going their own way, and that also means going your own way, not just from subcultural social norms, but also from MGTOW's social norms um, that might be presented. It's not applicable to everybody. Um, that doesn't mean you're not MGTOW. It just means that you need to be able to say, no, that's not for me. And yes, I can use that, whatever. So, you young people, hopefully this video helps. So far, there's 3 minutes that I've already spoken, talking about that specific thing. But when it comes to like marriage and being in a relationship and things like that, um, that social construct um, has kind of like tunnel visioned us into, along with genetics, hormonal stuff that make young men horny, you know, kind of drive us towards doing dumb stuff. And in a lot of cases, uh, stuff that you can't come back from, they're unrepairable. And the traumas are pretty tough. Traumas can be repaired. Well, it never goes away, but you kind of like get tools to deal with it, to cope with a lot of those traumas, and it will minimize over time, but the trauma is always there. Um, so I strongly recommend seeking counseling, not necessarily with MGTOW in mind, but counseling in particular to the situation that where your trauma is. But as far as breaking or going your own way with the social norms, you're already on the path to doing that by actually adopting the MGTOW method philosophy, and that's men going your own way. If you're a man, this stuff is also applicable to women, and even though it says MGTOW, and I am MGTOW in my, the way I see myself, I am not a rigid person where what I'm saying has no application to women. Women can actually take this information and apply it to themselves too. and go your own way as far as the social restraints. Um, but for men, young men in particular, you're in college, you're learning a trade, you're doing those things. Those are part of the social expectations. It starts in the home. Maybe your parents expect you to do these things, and it was drilled into you over years, so it's part of your subculture uh, within the structure of your family structure. And that's a culture unto itself. It's unique to your family. Um, so you have that, and you're doing that stuff. And then you have the relationship stuff. Maybe your mom wants to see you get married, have some kids. Your father wants you to have that job, that good paying job, that house, a car, the white picket fence, whatever it is. Um, the American dream. So you're going after those things, but along the way, what are some of the things that's not talked about, but it's part of the social structure, again, is dealing with women as one aspect, which MGTOW in general deals with. So I won't go into depth with it, really in depth with that. I'm just glossing over that. In a previous video, I talked about spending habits. I gave some examples of buying cheap watches and cheap shoes, going shopping at a thrift store for appearance wise, so you can still look presentable. Nobody knows that you shop at a thrift store, because once you put clothes on, they're used. If you wash your clothes, they're done. They're no longer new. So it's a big way to save money. And I have noticed, even though I was raised in the United States since I was like 15 years old, I noticed a lot of first generation foreigners, like Hispanics, Latinos, do a lot of shopping in thrift store. and you know and I've found some really good buys in the thrift store. If you look at my other video I did, you will see what I'm talking about. um, but that's another social restraint, um, that has no, it has no practical bearing if you live by the standards set as far as how you shop. um, so you have to go your own way on the social restraints that's been, or traditional social norms um, that has no practical application to your life. There's some things you can still adopt, some principles that you can still apply. um, some of those things, you know just apply it in a different way. Yes, you still need to look presentable, but instead of going to the name brand store or to some of these big chain stores, the cheapest way that I've found is going to the thrift store. A lot of clothes that when I was a little chubby, I'm still chubby, but I slimmed down, they don't fit me anymore. I take them right back to the thrift store and donated them so somebody else can buy them, because these things are like crazy expensive when they were new, like really good full grain leather jackets and boots and things like that. And I'm talking, as I mentioned before, last I have the Alexander McQueen shoes, some Timberland boots, some Timberland shoes, some uh, chuggers shoes, shoes like that, um, sneakers, things like that. They're cheap. My entire wardrobe costs less than $500, and 90% of the clothes I don't wear because I dress for the occasion. And most of the times I don't go into areas where I have to be well dressed, as far as like business attire, business casual, things like that. But I have it. Um, Another aspect of social restraint has to do with you as an individual. Um, you're going your own way, so but you tend to the wrong thing to do is to withdraw yourself, um, socially. Some people go to that extreme, just withdraw themselves and become this loner. But we are social creatures, so um, you can still interact with people, still interact with women, um, still interact with whatever you do, your job place, the people there. You can socialize with them, like after work, things like that. but you have your own idea in your mind what you're looking to do with your life, where you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and and what are you doing now to achieve that? And sometimes you have to distance yourself socially, or engage yourself socially with a different group of people to achieve those things. Um, so MGTOW might seem like men going their way or their own way might be isolating, but it truly isn't an isolating thing. It's a freedom thing. It actually gives you the freedom to expand beyond the social construct that you grew up in, the subculture that you grew up in, maybe your family culture, your community culture, your workplace culture. You may um, start going to college to learn something different, as a man, or to enhance what you're already doing. If you're a young man, you're going off to college, that's an opportunity to step away from the subculture you're in, and apply the knowledge that you learn from it in a new environment like a college dormitory and things like that. Apply those teachings, but it allows you to be yourself and adapt. Uh, but if you go into that environment and you're still trying to conform to the new environment and lose your identity in the process, that's wrong. You know, you have to know yourself to understand what you're worth. And knowing yourself is a really tough one. It has so many different levels. I've mentioned it before, but you will test yourself. Like if you're a young man, you're going your own way because you've been in a bad relationship, but you also have to go your own way socially in some of these things. You're breaking free from your parents if you go to college. You have to be sure of who you are. So when you go your own way and things are not going as planned, you have the confidence to shift and try to do something differently and realize that this isn't working, this is going down the wrong path. Let me stop now before it gets worse. And change directions. There's nothing wrong with changing your mind. And in MGTOW, the philosophy is clear. You can change your mind from being a simp, being beaten down, being abused, being used, being minimized by women, but you also have to apply all those things to society as well. And this idea might seem extremely abstract, but it's really important to understand the restraints that society has on you. You have spiritual restraints on you too, but I'm not going to talk about that now. I've mentioned in another video about goodness, the mode of goodness, and it's important that you to look into that. That's more of a spiritual thing, but it has many applications in the physical. um, and a lot of these things overlap. You got to use your intellect, you have to use rationale, you have to really do some critical thinking on some of the things I'm talking about that I try to oversimplify, or may oversimplify, or may not explain it in the most ideal way. And go out there and do your research. I've mentioned a few books that I find very helpful, and they're all spiritual books. If you get the opportunity to travel and see the world. You don't have to go like everywhere, but go to different parts of the world. 3-4 different trips, 3-4 different countries, 3 or 4 different cultures, and really see life beyond the United States if you're here, or beyond where you live. And that will open up your mind and expand everything to a larger social construct. That if you don't travel, you won't get that experience and understanding. And if money is tight and you can't do that, again, going off to college is one way to have a different environment. Learning a new trade will expose you to a different environment. Doing a new activity that you typically won't do. Volunteering at a program. If you've never volunteered before, try it out. It might do wonders for your life. Um, Things like that to allow you to try something different, go your own way, seek out your interests. Um, don't conform. When I first went to college, I conformed to the ideals of my parents. They wanted me to study computer science. I wanted to do performing arts stuff, but I complied. I wasn't happy. I ended up leaving, going to the military. So years later, I said, I'm going back to college. I took everything under the sun that I wanted to take, and it took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree because I was taking stuff just to take it because I wanted to expand my mind on those things. And since I was paying my own bills, I was confident in myself to say, well, you can't tell me crap on what I can study. I'm going to do what I want. And I got my degree, got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. I refocused and got I did. Um, I got my bachelor's degree in literature, English literature, and my master's in organizational psychology and business development. Um, but it was my choice. I wasn't influenced by the people around me. I discovered an interest and I expanded on that interest, and I have no regrets for it, and neither would you. I broke that social construct and restraint on what I wanted to do. Do I apply all those things to my life that I studied in college? Yes, but not in the way I thought I would. I'm doing it now. I'm applying the things I learned in college to speak to you guys. And it was not my original intention, but I'm grateful that I have it so I can pass the stuff on to you guys. So if this video is helpful, please share it. I really believe this is important. Like, subscribe. Again, share the video. Um, if you have questions, again, you need answers to something that I may have mentioned in this video that you didn't quite get, I'll mention it in the comment section down below, and I will try to answer to the best of my ability. Um, don't take everything I say for granted, and not everything I say is applicable to you. It's just a different way of thinking. If it can work in your experience, apply it and use it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Not everything I say is written in stone. So you guys have a good night.